It's live now. Okay, and let me see. Okay, and now it is live on our Facebook group too. So, Sanjula ma'am, are you able to hear us?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
Hear us?
okay, great.
Can
Yeah,
you hear me?
great.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So now we
Good
are
evening,
live and let's,
everyone.
yeah, I am now we are live, okay?
Okay,
So
thank you.
let's start. Welcome to 5th Vibrant Asia Symposium organized by Journal of Asian Art, Culture and Literature and Asian Literary Society. As you know, JSCL has been started with the aim of promoting the Asian art, culture and literature. This journal provides a platform where scholars, academics and professionals share their profound knowledge on Asia, its countries and their rich heritage. And Vibrant Asia Symposium is our sincere attempt to promote and spread the awareness about the same. Dear friends, today's symposium will be moderated by Dr. Vishakha Sharma. I'd like to quickly introduce Dr. Vishakha Sharma. Vishakha Sharma is a linguist who specializes in the documentation of endangered and lesser known language. She is a passionate writer. Her writings, both in prose and poetry, have been published in journals and anthologies. She is an administrator of Asian Literary Society. She has learned Indian classical music instrument Mohan Veena from Ravi Shankar Institute of Music and Performing Arts, New Delhi. She is also associate editor of JSCL. Now over to Vishakha Sharma ji.
Thank you, Manoj. Good evening, viewers. Welcome to the fifth Vibrant Asia Symposium. Before we start our discussion on the magnificent manifold domains of Asia, I would like to introduce you all to our distinguished panelists. I start with Kalyani Menon. Kalyani Menon is an experienced media broadcaster. She produced programs and freelanced as an English announcer in All India Radio. She has over 30 years of experience as an English news reader for All India Radio's News Service Division. Additionally, Kalyani has compared stage shows, written and narrated commentaries in English for short films and documentaries, and voice advertisements for both radio and television. She's a writer since her teens and has published extensively in the leading newspapers and magazines of India. Friends, do read her bite-sized fictional tales published on her Facebook portal titled Kalyani Menon's Tiny Tales. Welcome on the forum, Kalyani Menon.
Thank you, Vishaka.
Our
Thank you so
second,
much.
uh, thank you. Our second panelist, Sanjula Sharma, is Masters in English Literature from Jadavpur University, Kolkata. She is a Delhi-based journalist writer, written extensively for national dailies, journals, and magazines in both India and Kuwait. She was a script writer for ZTV and consultant editor for All India Management Association for many years. She has authored 6 books of fiction and poetry. She is an active member of Poetry Society India and organizes poetry programs in the capital. She is the founder of creative platform Happy Mind, through which she conducts creative writing workshops for children. She is also a volunteer with Tamanna, a school for children with special needs. Welcome on the forum, Sanjula Sharma. Our next panelist, Dr. Sudha Subramaniam, is a passionate educationist and an ardent writer and poet with a humanitarian bent of mind. She is a recipient of Wordsmith Excellence Award, and the Sagar Memorial Award from Asian Literary Society. She has also received several awards for literature, for research, and for corporate social responsibility at the national and international levels. Her published book of poems titled The Dawn of Creation, published by Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, is recommended for MA Literature. Recently, she also published another poetry book, Bleeding Lilies, Blooming Bowers. Welcome, Dr. Sudha Subramaniam, on the forum. Our next panelist, Dr. Aparna Bagwe, Administrator of Asian Literary Society and Associate Editor of Asian Literary Society's Journal of Asian Art, Culture and Literature, is a PhD in Applied Biology and worked as a senior scientist with the Tata Memorial Center, Mumbai, till 2018. Presently, she devotes time to her personal interests, creative writing, nature and wildlife photography, and travels extensively within and outside the country. Her writing features on several online literary platforms, and her poems and short stories have been published in 10 anthologies. Welcome on the forum, Dr. Aparna Bagwe.
Thank you.
Friends, Asia is majestic and rich in its history, heritage, and architecture, with diverse cultures, ethnicity, and language. We also come across extraordinary leaders who bring transformation in our society, and we identify them as our role models. Our first speaker of this evening is Kalyani Menon, and she will talk about Daughter of the East. Over to Kalyani Menon.
Thank you, Vishakha. When I was asked to write an article for this journal, I was left wondering, what do I need to write about? What is it that I feel particularly convinced about? And then I thought of Benazir Bhutto, probably because I myself am a woman, and I admire women who have been making huge strides and caused practically all of humanity to sit up and take notice of them. Of course, Benazir was not the first woman leader in the world. We've had Sirimavo Bandaranaike in Sri Lanka. There's been Golda Meir, who was the Prime Minister of Israel. And of course, our own Indira Gandhi, who had been our Prime Minister. But what was so very remarkable about Benazir Bhutto was the fact that as a woman, and that too as a modern, Western educated woman, who was certainly not traditional in any way, traditional by Pakistani standards, for a young woman like that to enter the Pakistan political fray, and in spite of the rigid conservative nature of Pakistani society, to rise to the highest political office within Pakistani society, I thought that was a huge thing for a woman to be doing in an Islamic state. And so that was why I decided that I would make Benazir Bhutto the topic of my paper today. Benazir, in her autobiography, which is titled Daughter of the East, has talked about how the vicissitudes that she had to face, the travails, the trials, the huge hurdles that she had to overcome in that path which took her to this highest office of politics, of governance in Pakistan. And as I was going through the events of her life which led up to something so spectacular, I couldn't help feeling a fresh gush of admiration, respect for the fact that this woman of such indomitable spirit could achieve all that she managed to achieve in the relatively short span of merely 54 years. She was only 54 when she died. And she was elected Prime Minister twice. Both times, of course, her government was dismissed. She was not able to complete her term. I don't think any prime minister in Pakistan so far has been able to complete an entire term, an elected term. But Benazir, there were several corruption charges against her. She had to face a lot of difficulties. She chose to be in self-imposed exile, and she kept away from Pakistan itself because there were indications that she would be arrested, thrown into jail. Jail, of course, was not unfamiliar territory to her. When her father had been thrown into jail, her father was Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who had also been prime minister. He had been overthrown by General Zia-ul Haq in a military coup. And of course, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto afterwards had been executed too. So Benazir was not unfamiliar with what happened to political dissidents. And she had herself been thrown into jail several times. So it was not jail that she was scared of, but the fact that she would not be allowed to go out and campaign because the then president, General Musharraf, had announced general elections and Benazir wanted to come back. She was in exile in Dubai and London. She wanted to come back to Pakistan and campaign, fight the general elections, campaign for a party, and possibly have a third term as prime minister. But that was not to be. She fell to an assassin's bullet and a suicide bomber. And finally, at the age of 54, that was the end of that phenomenon, that unparalleled, unique woman of Pakistan origin called Benazir Bhutto. Vishakha?
Wonderful. She's such a tough lady. She was such a tough lady.
Absolutely.
Persona indeed. Well, I'll come back to you with more discussions about her.
Sure.
Friends, the Korean wave, Hallyu, refers to the global popularity of South Korean cultural economy, which exports pop culture, entertainment, music, drama, and movies. So our next speaker, Sanjula Sharma, will talk about K-pop, expanding horizons of Korean music. Over to Sanjula Sharma.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bishaka. And lovely listening to you, Kalyani. It was very nice.
Thank you.
My paper this evening is, like Bishaka introduced, K-pop, expanding horizons of Korean music. From one single hit to several chart busters, a few curious fans to thousands of admirers, some tentative notes to stage rocking music. The deafening applause is just one of the indications that K-pop has taken the world by storm. While expanding the horizons of Korean music, K-pop has become a global phenomenon that is definitely here to stay. They call it Hallyu, the Korean wave, with the central idea that South Korean pop culture has grown in prominence over the years to become a major global force, from drama and music to delicious food and ramen on your favorite menu. The audience is spread not only in Asia, but also in Latin America, Europe, and the US. Korean pop now is a specific form of popular music originating in South Korea. While the modern form of K-pop can be traced back to the early 90s, the term itself has been popularized since the 2000s, replacing the term Gayo, which also refers to domestic pop in that country. The term is often used to describe modern pop music that is influenced by rock, jazz, gospel, R&B, country, and many other forms of music all over the world. K-pop emerged with the formation of one of the earliest groups, Seo Taiji and Boys, in 1992. Now, I would say this was the defining moment. Their experimentation with different styles of international music helped reshape and modernize South Korea's contemporary music scene to a great extent. Soon, there were other bands emulating attempts at going global. Increasingly, Foreign songwriters collaborated with K-pop bands, and now many Korean artists make a deliberate attempt to learn not just English, but other East Asian languages in order to cross the linguistic barrier. The rigorous training necessary for K-pop artists to metamorphose into successful idols, for that's what they are called, is intense. Management agencies offer binding contracts to potential artists at a very young age, starting from 10 sometimes. Trainees live together in a regulated environment, learning dance, song, music, different languages, and many other skills to start the journey on their debut and their music careers. Innovative marketing is a key element here, which consists of online and TV broadcast shows. Music videos and teaser photos and trailers are released, and attractive albums and many other kinds of merchandise are in great demand all over the world and are being ordered online by many of the youth. As journalist Kathleen Kelly comments, and I agree with this. K-pop is more global than ever, helping South Korea's music market boom and reshape and grow into a major power player. South Korean artists have tasted sweet success by hitting the Billboard Hot 100 chart numerous times. The export of K-pop has ballooned South Korea's music industry to an impressive $5 billion and maybe more. Popular idol groups, now everybody is familiar with, have shaped the industry, and these include Super Junior, Big Bang, BTS, Girls' Generation, Red Velvet, Astro, Day 6, and Blackpink, among others. EXO is a huge favorite across the world. Some well-known solo artists are Taeyeon, IU, Psy, of course everyone knows, EXO's Chen, and Sejong. She is my favorite. She released her first mini album Plant last year, in which she beautifully illustrates heartfelt lessons in life. And so does Dio's sweet single, That's Okay. Both offer comfort to sad hearts in these difficult times. And now, the flip side, as there is in everything in life. The robotic system is often criticized. Entertainment labels are highly selective, so potential artists, very few of them in fact, make it big or rise to fame. The system is intensely grueling and is often critiqued for being the reason so many artists are suffering from mental problems. Now, this is ironically juxtaposed because the hope that their music lends to the fans who may themselves be struggling with mental health is also a major issue to look at. And here lies the message of hope, which I may be permitted to talk about later if Vishaka mentions. But for most fans, it's about watching their beloved idols, retaining the essence of K-pop while their music simultaneously becomes a global phenomenon. The bottom line is that both artists and fans feel that music is a holistic language, as are all art forms across the world. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank
K-pop
you.
is actually a global phenomenon. It's just wonderful. I will come back to you, Sanjula, with more discussions. I go to Sudha Subramanian. Friends, there are many unique temples, sacred wells of majestic Asia in remote corners of countries that we are unaware of. Today, Dr. Sudha Subramanian will talk about hidden treasures of Nepal. Over to Dr. Sudha Subramanian.
Thank you so much, Vishaka. Good evening to all the viewers. It's indeed a great pleasure to share something about majestic Nepal. When we say treasures of Nepal, in this short time frame, it will definitely not be possible for me to unlock all the treasures, but I can definitely give you a glimpse of the treasures, and then maybe you could voyage onwards to discovering much more. So it's just not the sparkle of gold or the glitter of diamonds. These are the real treasures over time. Nepal is virgin land. And the first time I went to Nepal, I had gone after reaching Gorakhpur in North India and then voyaged by land. So we went to Pashupatinath, the border area. Okay. And then we went onwards, traveling the wide expanse of Nepal, right from Kathmandu till the Terai region in Rajbiraj. And my journey to Nepal has, taken me to all the temples in Nepal, and I have really relished every unique temple, the architecture, and the ancient history. So, when I first journeyed through Gorakhpur, I purchased Valmiki's Ramayana. And believe me, today our education is so modern and we have a lot of technology to our behest, but we correlate to the times maybe somewhere about say 200 years ago, 300 years ago. The current times too are so full of VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. But those ancient times were times where we correlate to a time span in the BCs, the before Christ era. And Valmiki in his Ramayana, maybe some of you have actually read the original version, but it is amazing. And today, NASA and the Institute of Science, major world bodies, have time framed the exact chronological sequence of the events which happened in the Ramayana because Valmiki has recorded the constellational positions of the stars and planets. It's absolutely perfect. So when I am speaking of Nepal, you must be wondering why I'm mentioning Ramayana. But that is one of the books which I purchased at Gorakhpur. And then as I voyaged into Nepal, it is not just Kathmandu, which is declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the temples of Pashupatinath, Buddha Nilkant, Swayambhu Temple, the Monkey Temple. Man has evolved from a monkey, and which is way ancient. It's not just the architecture, which consists of pagodas and stupas and so much more. It is not just that Siddhartha, prince of Kapilavastu, was born in Nepal, the Lumbini Park there, but goddess Sita was born in Janakpur. And I have visited the temple at Janakpur. So it has been not just what you read in books, but it has got a practical aspect to it where I have actually journeyed onwards to each and every place which I will be just giving a glimpse about. And therefore, when we speak of that time span where we know that India is one of the puja grihas of the world, and Nepal is it is as much as a part of India in the sense that it is our bonding which extends over there. So, Goddess Sita, Janakpur, Lord Rama voyaged there, and you all are aware of the Swayamvara which was held. Okay, not the TV serial Swayamvara, but Swayamvara. There was a girl, lady had she could choose her husband, and can you imagine? I mean, the princes from all over come, and then the lady she sets the task along with her father, the king, and the task has to be fulfilled, and the prince who completes the task can wed the princess. So there was some element of women empowerment there possibly. So when Sita breaks when she decides that she will wed the prince who breaks the Gandiva bow or who strings the Gandiva bow, and Lord Rama has journeyed and through destiny, I mean, he's come there to Janakpur because he had to, kill the demons along where the sage Vishwamitra escorts them, and it's all a beautiful story. Every aspect of the story can be relived in actual structures. And the temple where they meet before the main event, the Swayamvara, that temple is situated on a beautiful bank of white stones. And that the beautiful temple there, the temple where they first meet and their eyes meet, okay, the romance blossoms. But at that time, she does not know that this is the young prince who will string the bow and wed her. And then when the actual scenario unfolds and Lord Rama strings the bow and the mighty Gandiva breaks under his strength, and a part of that bow falls at Dhanushwadi. So the part of the bow where it falls, there is a temple there at Dhanushwadi, and you can actually see that part of the bow over there. And every full moon night, that is what the locals say. I have not seen the cobra, but a cobra with the crown, with the jewel, it comes. But Dhanushwadi is a beautiful temple. Okay, and the temple on the banks of the river in Janakpur, the palace of Janakpur, where Lord Sri Rama and where Goddess Sita wed, that is maintained. So they must have had a structure erected later. Nepal has some very unique cultural traditions. They have what is called the living goddess. So the Darbar area of Nepal is itself a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Okay, and the Darbar area also houses the Kumari temple, and there is a young girl who is selected as the young goddess until she attains puberty. She is worshipped as the living goddess of Nepal. So these traditions are very specific to Nepal. Now, when you visit Nepal, whether you visit the Pashupatinath temple, okay, with the various, whether you visit the Darbar area, each of them is a very ancient relic, and we have to unravel the history, set out in quest of the intangible wealth that is ensconced in every shrine, in every cultural practice and ancient lore. So to travel to Dhanushwadi in Janakpur and behold a part of Lord Shiva's mighty Gandiva bow that Prince Rama broke at the Swayamvara of Princess Sita reveals the truth of the Ramayana. There's so much more that Nepal, it beckons the human mind to reach out and to grasp the reality of this great epic. Now, Pashupatinath temple, okay, itself, which is a World Heritage Site, that is a must visit. And although whatever it's a traveler's delight, and it is something which would take you on a journey into marvelous temple architecture. It's a combination of the pagoda style, the stupa style, and the shikara style. And this is something which has been mentioned even in the ancient treatises. So you have the Puranas. Of course, the Puranas are not some, and the Vedas are something which was part of tutelage for students in ancient India. And even today, Sanskrit offers an insight into much of, the Vedas, how they get across in terms of what is hidden in the verses itself. So, if the Hanuman Chalisa contains the distance from the earth to the sun in verse form, and they are surprised how these truths the ancients knew, okay, because they could unearth the cosmic truths through meditation. They had what is the third eye, the eye of knowledge, okay, and this is something which can be tapped with the power of meditation, with the power of unraveling the secrets through linking ourselves to the cosmos. So basically, Nepal architecture can roughly be divided into three groups: the pagoda style, the stupa style, and the shikara style, together with indigenous elements from the Mewari people. Now, even the dynasties like the Lichavis, okay, which came later after the Ranas, this history, which is more recent in AD than the much ancient, the more ancient of Lord Buddha, who was born at Lumbini Park there, Kapilavastu being in Nepal, or even Ashoka after the Kalinga War. He sets up the stupa, and so this happened somewhere in third BCE, whereas the Ramayana we talk of 7,600 BCE, and the time frame which can be set because of the astronomical perfection of whatever the Ramayana actually holds. So we find that whatever has been recorded by the writer, whether it's Valmiki, whether it's the Vedas, whether it's the Puranas, they enable us to understand and to glean a lot of insights into the truth, the beautiful history, and At Pashupatinath temple, there is also an ancient, hieroglyphic structure which speaks of this temple being extreme, very, very old. Now, as per lore, the original Swayambhu Linga was buried underneath the soil, and then there is Kamadhenu cow, the holy cow. So she goes every day and she goes to a particular spot, and the milk flows from her udders. And when they see this, and then they go to that place and they excavate there, then they discover uh, the Pashupatinath Linga. So it's absolutely fantastic what all the places you can visit,
Wonderful.
the architectural
Wonderful.
heritage. Yes, and I can just give you a glimpse. Okay, it's a real treasure trove. So do voyage to discover.
Yeah. So this is a wonderful paper. There's so many things to know, and
Yes, thank
we'll
you,
come
Vishnu.
back for more discussion to that. The viewers, Bhutan is known as a mountain paradise and is often referred to as the happiest kingdom on earth. Dr. Aparna Bagwe will take us on a tour to the Zongs in the land of the Thunder Dragon. Over to Dr. Aparna Bagwe.
Thank you, Vishaka. I'd like to give you just a brief overview of my article. The title of the article is Zongs in the Land of the Thunder Dragon, and it appeared in the Journal of Asian Art, Culture and Literature in the early part of 2020. It was volume 1, issue 1. Just to give you a little background, see, I had visited this beautiful Himalayan kingdom way back in 2012, and I had been fascinated by the beauty and magnificence of the entire country, but more specifically of the Zongs, their historic significance, their role as centers of religion as well as religious education. So when Manoj invited me to submit an article for this journal, my first choice, instant choice really was to write about the Zongs in Bhutan. Now the Bhutanese Zongs, they started out as Buddhist temple shrines with attached abodes for the temple priests who were conducting the religious rituals. Over a period of time, their scope enlarged to include the monasteries, that is, the schools of Buddhist learning. Now, in the past, Bhutan used to be split up into various kind of feudal regions, and there was a lot of internecine rivalry between them. There were also incursions from foreign land. So over a period of time, it so happened that the Zongs became heavily fortified as a protective measure. Thus, the term Zong refers to these fortress monasteries. During my trip to Bhutan, I was blessed to be able to view a few of these beautiful Zongs, three of them and a monastery in and around Paro, one in Punakha, and two in Thimphu, which is the capital of Bhutan. What I thought is in this particular discussion today, I'll just talk to you very briefly about the highlights of some of these songs that I saw. So I'll begin with the Zongs and monasteries in and around Paro. The first one, Rinpung Zong, which in Bhutanese means the fortress on a heap of jewels. It is also referred to as the Paro Zong. It prides itself in many exquisitely detailed murals, including that of their Guru Rinpoche, who is considered to be one of the avatars of Buddha. Then there is the Ta Zong, which is a 7-storied watchtower fortress built above Paro Zong, and it today houses the National Museum of Bhutan, which is a big repository of the finest Bhutanese art and cultural heritage. The third Zong that we visited, and this one really moved me, Druk Gyal Zong, that is the Fortress of Victory. It was one of the 4 oldest defense fortresses, and very sadly, it is in total ruins today. But as you walk about, you realize that it was located at such a vantage point high up in the hills. And even today, from its broken down walls and turrets, you can see an entire near 360-degree view of the area, indicating how important it was, strategically important it was in its heyday. You can even see the tallest peaks of the eastern Himalayas and the vast spread around there on clear days. Very close to Paro is the Takshang Monastery, which is the most venerated shrine and the most lovingly visited tourist spot really in Bhutan. According to legend, Guru Rinpoche first brought Buddhism here on the back of a tigress, and hence this monastery is termed as Tiger's Nest. High up in the hills, a nest for the tiger. It literally hangs onto the cliffside in the hills above Paro Valley, and it is accessible by a long, arduous trek, either on foot or on muleback. From there, we visited Punakha Dzong, called the Palace of Great Happiness. It is built at the confluence of the Fuchu and the Mochu rivers in Punakha, which was the previous capital of Bhutan. It is the most beautiful dzong of Bhutan. There's no doubts, two doubts about it. It has several unique, beautiful features that include a wooden bridge guarded by uniformed guards, a steep flight of steps at the entrance, very elegant murals on all the walls inside, carved doorways and staircases, elegant balconies, gold embellishments, and dragon motifs on this roof. More interestingly for me, because I'm a great nature lover, it has a huge outer courtyard that has so many jacaranda trees that were in bloom when we visited. You know, those beautiful purple flowers. And in the inner courtyard of this dzong is a huge Bodhi tree, an old Bodhi tree, which is the ideal spot really for meditation. From there, I moved on to the Thimphu Dzong, also known as Trashi Cho Dzong, or the Fortress of the Golden Religion. This is a magnificent structure which today houses the king's offices and throne room, the secretariat, as well as some ministries. It is also beautifully illuminated at night, so it's a sight to behold. The last dzong that we could visit in our short trip of about 2 weeks was the Simtoka Dzong, which is a smaller dzong that houses one of the premier Dzongkha language learning institutes. Dzongkha is the local language in Bhutan. While I got to see quite a few dzongs, I know that there are several others which I have missed, which brings me to the fact that before I die, I have to visit Bhutan again. I hope that the pandemic ends soon and allows people of our age to travel again. That's about it, Bishakha.
Wonderful.
I now invite my friend, Dr. Bishakha, to talk to us about her article.
Thank you, Aparna. Friends, I have written about Arunachal Pradesh is a paradise for a linguist. Yes, friends, I do mean it. Because the land is a reservoir of diverse ethnic communities. And 32 to 34 indigenous linguistic communities. Some of them extend their fraternity to Tibet, Bhutan, and Myanmar. Most of the languages of the state are unwritten. There are only 3 languages who have their own script: Tai Khamti, Lisu, and Wancho. And there are few more languages who have devised modified Roman script. Now, these structurally diverse languages are classified under 6 ethno-linguistic groups, like Lolo-Burmese languages. Lolo-Burmese language in the state is Lisu or Yobin. Then there are Buddhist languages. They are Monpa, Khemba, Memba, Nishpa, Chukpa, etc. The Sal languages, Tangsa, Wancho, Singpho, Nokte. Then Tani languages of the state are Adi, Galo, Nishi, Tagil, Nishin, etc. Mishmi languages, Kaman, Parang, and Idu. And then there is a Russo language, Russo and Aka language. And then there's Tai Khamti and other Thai varieties. Now, friends, these languages are so numerous and structurally diverse that it poses challenge. It posed challenge to a historical linguist to classify these languages under a few labels. Well, the state language is English, and the lingua franca is, of course, Hindi and Assamese. Now, there are 25 districts, and each district has a multilingual setting. One district might be composed of one indigenous linguistic community with other dialectal variations, and another district might be a home to 6 indigenous linguistic communities. But most of the districts are covered by Nishi, Galo, and Adi people. Now, in this article, friends, I dwelt on how allocation of space and reorganization of districts provide a comprehensive account of the linguistic picture of the state, the sister languages, the ethnic groups, and of course, the community settlements. As for instance, if I take Lohit district, if I try to trace the history of the designation of Lohit district, I find that Lohit district in the year 1948 was called Mishmi Hills district, which shows that Mishmi were the predominant group, linguistic community of that area. In 1954, it was called Lohit Frontier Division. In 1965, the district was called Lohit district. And that time, I'm sure Lohit district was composed of Mishmis, Thai, and Singpho. Now, in 1980, Dibang Valley district was carved out of Lohit district. And now look at the linguistic picture. Dibang Valley district is now home only to Mishmi people. And Lohit district is composed of one Mishmi group, Thai, and Singpho. But in 2014, Namsai is carved out of Lohit district. And now look at the picture. Namsai is home to Thai Khamti, the surviving Thai of Thai Kadai family. And they are residing with their brethren, Singpho, that is another indigenous community, with whom they share cultural affinity, and both are followers of Buddhism. Now, Namsai is mainly Thai Khamti area, and there are also Singpho people residing in that place. Now, look at this Lohit district, the erstwhile Mishmi Hills district. It has retained the same composition. It is now only a Mishmi area, particularly one group of Mishmi, that is Taman Mishmi. Now, if I give you an example of Tirap district, as for instance. Now, Changlang district was carved out of Tirap district. Now, I'm not going to that. Let me talk. Tirap district was home to Nokte. That was the dominant group. And they were residing with other subgroups, Kappa, Olo, Tutsa, and another indigenous community, Wansho. In 2014, Longding district was carved out of Tirap district. Now look at the linguistic picture. Longding district is now home only to Wansho. And Tirap is home to predominantly Noktes and its subgroups, Kappa, Olo, and Tutsa. But presently, Tutsa has become an independent group and no longer a subgroup of Nokte. This has become a scheduled language, but they are all structurally similar. So here, these are the pictures of, linguistic picture. This is how I try to understand the demography of the state. So West Kamen, bounded by Tibet in the north and Bhutan in the west. Tawang, which was historically a part of Tibet, is now carved out of West Kamen. So when we see the linguistic picture of West Kamen, we see there are so many ethnic groups and languages similar to that of Tibet and also Bhutan. They all follow Tibetan Buddhism, and classical Tibetan is the language of their scriptures. Now, friends, these all languages are not scheduled languages. Now, the non-scheduled languages, the smaller linguistic community, faces difficulty in their political and administrative tasks. So, they identify themselves in the name of a dominant linguistic community, preferably ethnically similar, but linguistically, they might be different. Okay. So this is the situation, linguistic picture of the state. So I have seen actually there is unity in diversity in the state. I remember a renowned linguist, Professor Padma Shri Professor Anvita B. says that when there is, one place, one language, or one nation, one language, it talks about subjugation of a dominant community subjugates many other linguistic communities. So homogeneity actually kills, and diversity sustains our existence. So it is important that we should promote and preserve our mother tongue languages, because if these are lost, our knowledge system is lost. Our references are taken away. So friends, I conclude this discussion saying that let us talk mother tongue at home. Thank you.
That was nice.
Very good.
Well, now discussion session. Kalyani, you have quoted Benazir Bhutto in the outline of your article, which I believe is the essence of her extraordinary life. I had not asked for this role, I had not asked for this mantle, but the forces of destiny and the forces of history had thrust me forward, and I felt privileged and awed. Would you like to elaborate on this thought?
Well, I completely agree with what Benazir has spoken about. It is completely accurate. She was indeed very much a child of destiny. It is only because of that particular accident of fate, the accident of birth, her being born in a particular influential political family of Pakistan, that ultimately propelled her to where she found herself later on. It was not something that she chose. It was not a life that she had chosen for herself. In fact, she has said elsewhere that when she went to Harvard, to Radcliffe College, she actually wanted to be studying psychology. And it seems her father, who was her mentor and who was grooming her to take on a more dynamic, a more prominent role in public life in Pakistan upon the completion of her studies, he apparently called up the dean of admissions at Harvard and got him to admit Benazir to a comparative government course, comparative governance, instead of psychology, which is what she wanted to do. And it is completely the irony of fate. She wanted to take the Pakistan Civil Service examinations, join the Pakistani Foreign Service. She wanted to work as a diplomat at the United Nations. But none of that could happen because, again, irony of fate, accident of birth. She was the political heir of her father. She had to take on the mantle of leadership of the Pakistan political party. So completely, I agree with that statement. It was destiny and history which placed her where she ultimately wound up. Vishaka?
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, you're right there. I too agree with you. Sanjula, K-pop of South Korea presents cross-cultural fluency and is a fully integrated part of the global culture. K-pop stars can excel at everything, as you said, everything from singing to comedy to rap to dance to even social commentary. So there's a comment by Bernie Cho that it wasn't really an evolutionary process. It was very much a revolutionary process. So, Sanjula, how do you describe the Korean pop from Cho's perspective, from this perspective?
Okay, Bishaka, I think that's a very good comment which you picked up, first of all, and I agree with this. We need to know that Bernie Cho was the president of DFSB, a collective and an agency based in Seoul that promotes Korean music worldwide. So he knew what he was talking about when he gave this comment. And we must remember that, Gayo or domestic pop music already existed in Korea. But when international music influences mingled with this, K-pop was born. And like I mentioned in the paper, 1992, when Seo Taiji and boys, performed in a live talent contest on TV. This was the defining moment. Let me mention here that they actually came last. They had a very poor scorecard by the judges, but the audience all over went wild. Now, the reason was there were Korean lyrics on one side, okay, and this was fused with international music forms, synchronized dancing, coordinated costumes, and absolutely magical ambience. They created sound which was totally unusual and unique. Now, this redefined pop music in many attractive and innovative ways, that became a global phenomenon that led to global appeal. And many bands subsequently emulated this particular band, and this is how K-pop grew and grew from 1992 to what it has become today. Absolutely rage all over the world. And this, I would like to mention, was not a passing phase. Many had predicted that this was a one-off single, which had gone viral, and this was just a passing phase, and this is not going to last. I mean, this absolutely youthful kind of dance and music and ambience. But what I want to say is that a whole new musical world was created. It was created, it was reshaped, it was modernized, it was redefined. And I think, this is the outcome of any successful revolution. So
Wonderful.
I totally agree with Bernie Chu.
Thank you, Sanjula. Mr. Sudha, Nepal is home to many pilgrimages, as you said, and ancient temples of Pashupatinath, Devi Saleju, Devi Girija, and Jagannath Krishna, and then again, on the other hand, birthplace of Buddha, that is in Lumbini. I believe it is said that one of the fundamental teachings of all religions is coexistence. And I'm sure secularism prevails in Nepal. Would you throw some light on the Asian heritages treasured on the temples and sacred corners of Nepal?
Yes. Yes, Vishaka, I would love to do that. Thank you for the question. So let me hone in the lens on Kathmandu, because each and every part of Nepal holds a treasure trove in itself, which can be unearthed in terms of history, which is recently ancient as well as truly ancient. Okay. So when we speak of the architectural heritage of Kathmandu city, which is very integral to that of the Kathmandu Valley. Okay, these monuments which have evolved there, they have evolved over centuries of craftsmanship and influenced by Hindu and Buddhist religious practices. As you move through Nepal, you have regular, phenomena where you see young boys embracing Buddhism, and you have a lot of influence of Tibetan Buddhism, the Dalai Lama. Now, the architectural treasure of the Kathmandu Valley has been categorized under the well-known 7 groups of heritage monuments and buildings. In 2006, UNESCO declared these 7 groups of monuments as a World Heritage Site. The 7 monument zones, they cover an area of about 188.95 hectares, and with a buffer zone which extends to 239.4 hectares. The 7 monument zones, which have been inscribed, originally in 1979, and a minor modification in the year 2006. So these 5 monuments at Kathmandu, the Darbar area which I already spoke about, the Darbar Square of Hanuman Doka, the Hindu temples of Pashupatinath and Changu Narayan, the Buddha stupas of Swayambhu and Baudhanath, and 2 monuments outside Kathmandu city limits in the satellite towns of Patan and Bhaktapur. So the Darbar Square at Patan, the Darbar Square at Bhaktapur, the 5 Kathmandu city monuments. Okay, so all of these and the entire Kathmandu Valley and the temples beyond, these have all been designated as a World Heritage Site. Kathmandu has been described variously as land of the gods, land of the largest congregations of magnificent historical monuments and shrines ever built. The city core has some of the remarkable cultural wealth which evolved during the reign of the Mala kings, later the Lichavis. Okay, and there are 106 monastic courtyards known as Baha or Bahai. And when you go to Darbar Square, okay, in Kathmandu, you have a very ancient palace there, which has been part of it is used as a restaurant. And when you go and sit inside, you can relive that ancient beauty. So it's really amazing. So it is much more about actually, going there and being there and
Yeah,
having that feel pulsating through
wonderful.
you.
It's true indeed. Yes, true.
Thanks. Yes, Vishaka.
Uh, mm, Dr. Aparna, I'm sure you had a wonderful time. You know, we went for a tour to the land of Thunder Dragon. From your personal experience, could you summarize the significance and functions of the zongs? I mean to say that tell us how is historic continuity and religion achieved in these zongs?
You see, Buddhism was introduced in Bhutan somewhere around the 7th century AD. And as I've already touched upon this, it was the first Buddhist temples that were constructed, then they grew to include the monasteries. And because of the need to protect them, there were fortifications that were raised around them. Now, over time, we know that we are in peaceful times now, and today the Zongs continue their primary role as Buddhist temples and monasteries. Some Zongs have been repurposed as museums where art and cultural history is carefully preserved. And also, due to their very well established infrastructure within the Zongs, some are also now used as administrative centers for various regions of Bhutan. Now, coming to the actual physical part of it, the inner architecture of the Zongs reflects their primary focus, which is religion. So you see these ornate and intricate wooden carvings, staircases, painted wall murals. And given that these are monasteries too, you see that there are separate units that are used housing the monks and the student monks. Because defense was of import, therefore they were chosen as vantage mountaintop locations. But there are some sites where the Zongs are located at the ground level, and for those, they were generally the sites were chosen so that they had some other geographical kind of protection. So we see
I'm sorry.
Well, that was very interesting what Aparna was talking about the songs. And I'm really tempted. I hope that she will also invite me when she goes visits Bhutan after
So
the pandemic again.
I come to Kalyani because there's not much time left. Kalyani, I'm talking about the charismatic persona, Benazir Bhutto. She played the traditional gender role on the one hand, and as a leader of a political party and thereafter prime minister of the country. I was wondering what were the challenges she faced as a woman in a predominantly patriarchal and a rigidly conservative Islamic country.
Well, you're absolutely right. It was pretty much uphill going, the whole hog, in fact. First of all, she was a woman. Second of all, she was trying to make a name for herself, trying to become a leader of an Islamic state, which is, of course, as we all know, rigid in its social mores. It is conservative. It is completely male-dominated. So it was not easy at all, in spite of all the mentoring and the tutoring that she got from her father. In fact, being an unmarried woman was a huge disadvantage for her. So she had to go in for an arranged marriage. Her mother found this young businessman for her to get married to,
Yeah.
which proved to be both a blessing and not a blessing for her, because he unfortunately got labeled Mr. 10% because that was apparently his commission rate for securing deals from the government. So there were a huge amount of corruption charges. And at the same time, she was completely dedicated to her role as leader of the Pakistan People's Party. That is the political party that was founded by her father. So in his absence, after his execution, she felt morally bound to be leading that party to victory and to restore democracy. She was completely committed to the people of Pakistan. And therefore, consequently, straddling two boats, as I think all of us working women can completely appreciate, there are only 24 hours in the day, whether you're a housewife or you're a working woman.
Yeah.
I mean, actually trying to marry the two together, you need something like 48 hours in a day, I'm sure. But for Benazir Bhutto, it was completely the people of Pakistan and the PPP that she was actually wedded to. So her marriage did suffer. Asif Zardari and she were living separately towards the end of her life. Her children did not get as much time as they would have liked with her and as much as she would have liked to spend with them. But well, I mean, it's all destiny, as they say. And she herself had chosen that life finally. That's it.
Thank you, Kalyani. It was a wonderful paper at Dr. of the East. Dr. Aparna, I'm sorry. Is there anything you wanted to say?
Can you tell me where you lost me?
I don't remember you talking.
Okay, let me just continue from where I think you lost me. So the zongs were kind of located at vantage points in the mountains and at other places where it was at ground level. They were geographically, strategically placed, for example, between two rivers as it was in Punakha. Now, in terms of the external architecture, due attention was given to fortification, ramparts, drawbridges, watchtowers, everything was looked after from that angle. Coming to the ambience within, there is a perceivable calm and quiet within the zong as expected. It is here that you experience the true face of Buddhist religion. The outwardly manifestations include turning the prayer wheels as you make your way into the temple. People, both young and old, praying quietly in a very disciplined manner, offering incense sticks, etc. You see old monks going about the rituals, and the visitors and the young monks respectfully bowing before the monks. So that's it about how it is today. And I think since we've already lost some time due to my disappearance and appearance again, I will come straight to your question, Bishakha. In your article, you have mentioned that the district-wise linguistic divisions within Arunachal Pradesh are not as well demarcated as they are depicted in the census reports. Could you tell us a little bit about the status of linguistic communities and their affiliation?
Yeah, I'll just give an example because the time is very short. When I went to Tirap district, I asked the person, what is your mother tongue? And he said that I am a Wancho speaking Nokte. So which shows that he speaks Wancho, but identify himself as a Nokte. So that's all I have to say. And I go to, thank you, Aparna, for this wonderful question. I go to Sanjula. K-pop, Sanjula, has become increasingly visible to global audience. And as you said, not only ballooned South Asian music industry, but boosted the economy of the country. So, Sanjula, what are you think the social political significance of K-pop that shaped the cultural identity of the nation?
Okay, I'll.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just answer this as quickly as I can. I know we're short of time. Well, let me start by saying that K-pop has become the international face of South Korea. Okay, we start with that, saying that more than any other global music industry in the world, K-pop has been strategically designed to elevate South Korean culture overseas and on the world stage. For example, the president of Korea recommended EXO to perform at the closing ceremony of the 2018 Winter Olympics. K-pop idols are considered ambassadors of the country, and their music is often viewed as an unofficial branch of the state. So we have to understand that the government still plays a guiding hand in promoting Korean culture, and this is now spelled K-pop overseas. The socio-cultural ramifications of K-pop involve connecting domestic roots with diverse cultures all over the world. Fans of K-pop have different backgrounds and different social classes, and sometimes K-pop supports a subculture here. Not the dominant culture, but it also keeps itself part of the dominant culture because that is what their government endorses. So we have to understand that K-pop is social cultural in its worldview, and it also helps strengthen political ties with other nations. That's very important to keep in mind. And the fact that the country itself is promoting this music overseas to give a very international face to especially the youthfulness of the country, I would put it.
Wonderful.
So all factors come in: culture, socio factors also, as well as political for sure. And can I just take a minute to end with a message of hope?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, which
sure.
I really think K-pop is giving in this pandemic times. Let me start. When life during the pandemic seems devoid of excitement and joyful outlets, K-pop becomes a beacon of hope. It becomes a symbol of positive and vibrant happenings to look forward to. When the fans' world is stagnant, this alternate universe of music, is dynamic, it's vibrant. So new albums and singles are being released almost every week, and promotions are being happening, and online concerts are taking place, and even global fans are allowed to interact with their artists and favorite fans artists online. So I think this gives a lot of hope to the youngsters, to the youth especially. And I want to share a comment which really touched me, and I heard that yesterday from a fan of K-pop, and she said, "There are days when my favorite K-pop idol is the only reason I wake up to. He is my happy place. He is my sweet comfort in my darkest hour." And I was really touched by this, and I thought I'll share it with everyone.
Thank you.
I want to see that watching their ideals strive, and aspire towards their goals has inspired youth to carry on forward in the same way. So this is the message of hope I wanted to share. Thank you, Vishal.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Sudha, just one line you tell me. It is said that magnificence is one word that best describes the architecture of Nepal. Do you agree?
Yes, wholeheartedly agree. See, for example, the Pashupatinath temple, it's a very important destination for art historians. It displays temple designs, some of which are dome style, pagoda style, shikara style. They fuse over here, and moreover, there are a variety of statues and sculptures, around the complex, made of stone, metal, wood. And then you have the doors and pillars around the temple, which are very ornately carved in beautiful shapes, like with gods, griffins, right? And it stretches from the main temple of Pashupatinath to Guheshwari. So there are many famous temples in these areas, that some of which I mentioned. Now the Bhuvaneshwari, the Dakshinamurti, the Tamreshwar, the Panchadeval, the Vishwarupa, and others. And of course, the temple of Kali, which is located on the banks of the river Bagmati. So the river Bagmati, it flows some distance from Pashupatinath, and this has got a very interesting appearance, and it is loaded with mythology. So what the myth says is that the statue grows out of its original spot, and people have actually seen this, and they agree to this. So they say that the world will come to an end when the half in, half out figure is fully exposed. So
yes, thank you, Sudha. That was a wonderful discussion, and the discussion actually continues. There's no end to it. And last question to Dr. Aparna. Dr. Aparna, your article is about Zongs of Bhutan. Would you also share with us your impressions about life in Bhutan and the people of Bhutan in 2 lines?
See, when I visited Bhutan, I had actually hoped that I would get to interact with the Bhutanese people and see their way of life. Of course, when you go as a tourist, we all know that we don't get too much chance to interact. But this time, because I had expressed this view to our, the person who arranged the tour, we got ample opportunities. I will speak only about the people because of paucity of time. I found the Bhutanese to be very welcoming and very dignified. Coming to their culture, I was really impressed by the traditional dress that was worn with such pride and flair by everyone. See, the men wear a knee length robe called the go, and we've all seen them the long flowing sleeves, white, wide cuffs, and a belt tied at the waist under which they wear knee length socks. Wherever we went, all the people had this on. I do know that the government offices also insist that the government servants use traditional Bhutanese clothing as their office wear, and they follow this diligently. The women wear a similar version, except that it's ankle length, a gown called the kira, and it's so pretty. Interestingly, even the school kids and the college kids are seen in the traditional wear, and it is amazing that they are very happy and very, they have no problems with staying in their traditional wear. In fact, they wear it with great pride.
Yeah.
Now, in contrast, the young student monks, in my opinion, seem to exist in a kind of time space continuum with the past, doing the things that generations of young student monks before them have probably done. Early wake up, the regular ablutions, pray, and study, study, study. Simple meals, minimal interaction with the outer world, yet they seem to be very much at peace with their lives. Now, Bhutan, I'll come to one aspect before I end. Bhutan is today ranked as the happiest country in Asia and the eighth happiest in the world. We have heard about their gross national happiness. So, Bhutanese focus on sustainable development and ensuring that their populace is very happy. Bhutanese society has embraced a paradigm that encompasses the pursuit of meaningful societal progress by balancing the physical with the mental, the material with the spiritual, within a safe and stable environment, and with the purpose of realizing happiness. A very nice thought, which I think is taking them ahead and which we should all try to emulate.
Yeah.
Coming to you, Vishaka, one of the citations in your article refers to a descriptive grammar of the Thai Kampi. Would you care to expound on this and share some unique linguistic features of this
Okay.
language?
Thank you, Aparna. Just one line I will say that Thai Kampi is a language of the only surviving, maximally populated surviving Thai of Thai Kadai family, the fifth language family. This is a tonal language like Mandarin. So there are like 5 tones. Now, if I choose 4 tones, then I would describe it this way. If the tone changes, the meaning changes. So if I say ma, it means dog. And if I say ma, it's horse. And if I say ma, it's madman. And if I say ma, it's thumb. So, there are 5 tones, ma, 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 ma. So, to perceive these tones, I had to study Mandarin to be able to perceive these tones, tonal language, This is very interesting. And I would finish with one sentence that if self is good, the whole world is good. How will Khamti people say? It's Pachao ni. Pachao is self. Pachao ni kacham. If self is good. Pachao ni kacham. Mungkang tangmung. Hini yao. So if self is good, the whole world is good. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Interesting.
Well, different gratitude to our esteemed guests, Kalyani Menon, Sanjula Sharma, Sudha Subramaniam, and Aparna Bagwe for talking about your articles. Heartfelt thanks to Vishaka Sharma for moderating today's session. I would also like to extend a special thanks to our audience. The recording of 5th Vibrant Asia Symposium will be uploaded on our official YouTube channel very soon. Thank you again for your presence and participation. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Manoj.
much.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you, dear. Thank you, Manoj.
Bye bye.